Hello and welcome to this recorded webinar especially created for PiXL members. My name's Helen. I'm going to be your host for the next 30 minutes as we look at how GCSEPod can support blended and flipped learning. Now, attending PiXL conferences is always a highlight in our year. In fact, here's one of our team, Pete, looking a bit cheeky, enjoying a warm cup of coffee, I imagine, as we wait for one of the seminars to finish. And of course, with events postponed, we've not really had this opportunity to catch up with you as much as we would normally like to. So in this recorded webinar, I'm going to try and bring you a taste of what we would have loved to deliver had the circumstances allowed. And in the spirit of delivering something which feels truly right for PiXL, I'm not going to focus on what our product does so much, but I'm going to focus on how schools, just like yours, have maximised the impact of GCSEPod in these challenging times and how they're planning to use it to bounce back to whatever sort of normality we all encounter in September. Now I'm going to start with a quote actually from Gavin Cowley. Gavin is the North East and Central Regional Leader at PiXL and someone who's seen GCSEPod working in schools across the country over the last months. And before lockdown began, Gavin noted that he was guilty of seeing GCSEPod as just a revision tool, something that was useful but not essential. However, recently he's discovered, as I hope you will as well as you watch this webinar, that GCSEPod is also an incredible tool for teaching, flipped learning, assessment and monitoring as well. So let's get started, and we're going to start with our first example school, which is the fantastic Eden Girls Leadership Academy based in Birmingham. So the Academy took on GCSEPod in late 2019, just months before the pandemic hit. And here Famida, who's their head teacher, explains why it helped them. Now, there's nothing worse than reading out quotes as they appear on screen, so I'll let you read the quotes and perhaps you could pause the video as well rather than me read them out. But essentially Famida is noting here that the reason they bought into GCSEPod was to raise academic outcomes, but actually one of the bigger benefits they got was the ability to track what their students were up to remotely. So let's look at this in a bit more detail. So here Famida sums up really concisely two aspects of GCSEPod that have benefited them. The first is the accessibility. She notes in particular the usefulness for SEN students, although many other schools talk about the EAL application as well. She also talks about the style of content being very suitable to all learners. At GCSEPod we produce our pods, these are our short videos, and it's nice to see Famida mention specifically the fact that they're relevant, informative and always updated. So let's dive into the GCSEPod site and have a look at these tools that she's talking about here. So here we are, logged into the site as a student. Now we have thousands of these short 3 to 5 minute videos that Famida is talking about, and these are organised into our subjects. We actually cover 27 GCSE subjects on the site and some non-GCSEs as well. We actually have a VCERT qualification, which is health and fitness, and some others as well. If we click on a subject like English literature, we then get the relevant content that Famida was talking about. So this is actually filtered by exam board, and you can see that this particular school has filtered for AQA, and that's why we're seeing that in one of the topic names. So let's go into the drama topic, and we'll pick one of these texts for Romeo and Juliet, let's say. And you can see for each topic on the site, whether that's a science topic, a French topic, whatever it is, we break it down into these short videos, just like so. Now, these videos have all been written by subject specialists, and they're designed to cover all of the aspects of the topic comprehensively. And let's just watch a little bit of this one here to show you what the videos are like.
In this pod, we'll explore the context of Shakespeare's play, Romeo and Juliet.
The play is set in northern Italy during the 16th century. Neither Shakespeare nor his audience would have been to Italy, as travel was much more limited then than it is today. The Elizabethans couldn't just jump on an aeroplane. This means that the audience wouldn't be particularly interested in the contemporary accuracy of the text. The audience wouldn't have known about many of the flowers, animals and trees referred to in the play.
There we go. So that gives you an idea of how the pods look and feel. And obviously Famida mentioned that the style, they're very visual, as you can see. And because they can all be slowed down, and all of them allow for subtitles to be added as well, it means that they work for any ability of learner and any style of learner as well. So let's go back to Famida and see what else she's got to say. So here Famida mentions the fact that they use GCSEPod for intervention, and they've prioritised its use by actively building in usage reporting into each department's meetings. Now this is really important and a brilliant idea because GCSEPod is a whole school resource, and so Famida's team have worked really hard to build ownership within each department, even as she says here, taking it to the point of actually setting targets within staff appraisals. So let's go back to GCSEPod and look at how this monitoring and intervention can happen. Okay, so here we are back on the student website, and we're going to this time go past the subject list and actually have a look at an area of the site called assignments. Now, Famida specifically mentioned intervention, and there are loads of different ways that you can use GCSEPod for intervention, but one of the best and easiest is to set your students' assignments. Now, here's one for the subject of PE. And you can see it's been set by one of the teachers at the school. There are some videos for us to watch to refresh our knowledge of that subject, and then there's some questions to answer. Now, in our database, we have about 60,000 ready-made questions that you as teachers can choose from, or you can build your own completely from scratch. What's really important though is that each question, even the free text ones, are linked to the relevant videos. Now what this means is when a student submits their assignment, as I'm just doing now, they will get instant feedback on how they've done, which you would expect, but they also get what's called a boost playlist. And this is essentially an instant intervention system. What happens is if the student doesn't get 100%, the system will find out from the questions they got wrong what their weaknesses are, and create a personalised boost playlist. Now this is really similar to the personalised learning checklist that many PiXL schools already use. The difference is it's entirely automatic. So if you set an assignment for 30 students, each individual student may have a completely different boost playlist, and it's designed to help the students progress after completing an assignment and fill knowledge gaps. And any boost playlist that's created actually appears on the website down the left here, so students can go back to it at any time and revise content that they know they need to revise to progress in that topic area. The next thing that Famida mentioned was building in usage reporting into department meetings. Now, I'm currently logged in as a teacher this time, and you'll see we have a whole section on our site dedicated to monitoring students. So let's click Monitor and Manage. Now we can see all of our classes, year groups, registration groups, and so on. These are actually imported automatically from your MIS system, so you'd never have to build them. They're automatic and they're updated on an hourly basis as well. So if we go into, let's say, a whole class group, so we can see all our classes and we can go into one of them there. And at a glance, we can see which students are putting in the most effort, which students have maybe not done the independent learning that they've been asked. And we can even dig into this data by date range or by subject. So if we want to look at all of the religious studies usage in the last week, we can absolutely do that. We can even go right into an individual student like Jonathan here and see exactly which videos he's been watching, the date and the time that he watched them, and the subject area as well. So there's a huge amount of data available to monitor and to measure the impact that GCSEPod has had. And this also works for teachers. So if you're a head of department or a senior leader, you'll see there is a section for all teachers, and here we can also monitor our teaching staff, see how many assignments they've set, total usage, and so on. And on the home screen of the teacher website, we have an overview chart of usage across the school. We can see which subjects are using the resource the most, where is the independent learning most successful in our school, and that can be very revealing as well. The next school we're looking at today is Jem's Winchester School. Here, James, the head of secondary, explains that he bought GCSEPod as part of their blended learning strategy for the school, and through it they've been able to drive independent learning skills, leading to an enriched student experience. Now, he also notes that they've actually used GCSEPod for bespoke virtual test papers, and this was done in lieu of the written papers they'd normally use in the school. They've also been finding GCSEPod supportive for students transitioning into A-level, and this is something that a lot of schools are doing, especially for those students who perhaps feel that they've fallen behind and need to bounce back and catch up before they move into the next key stage. So let's flip over to GCSEPod and explore this a bit more. So James mentioned that they've converted written papers into virtual papers, and he'll be using this part of the GCSEPod site to do that. It's called Assess, and in here we're going to look at assignments. Now, we've already looked at what happens when a student is set an assignment and the fantastic boost playlist that they get generated, but you can, as a school, actually create your own assignments completely from scratch. So the first thing you would do is click Start from Scratch and then add your pods. So these would be the topic areas that you want to test out. So let's pick a subject like chemistry, and we can pick from the list of topics. We'll go for chemical changes and then electrolysis. Here we can simply tick the videos that we want our students to watch as part of this assessment. And this is great if they're at home because they're able to actually watch these videos and revise their knowledge before tackling the questions. Then we can go into the Manage Questions area. Now, as I mentioned, we do have thousands of ready-made questions that are accessible in the question bank. These are available, there's free text and multiple choice, and they are filtered to be relevant to whatever topic area you happen to be setting your assignment on. So I can add in a few of these questions here to my assignment. However, I can also add my own questions. So you'll see here, I can create a question from scratch. I can do either free text or multiple choice. Now, free text questions can just go in like so, and I can even add images if I want to supplement the content that I have. So let's add in a graph or a table rather to this assignment. There we go. I can decide how many marks each essay question is worth, and I can also tell the system which videos are relevant to this question, so if the students get it wrong, it knows what to feed them for their boost playlist. I can also set up multiple choice questions, like so. These can have as many correct or incorrect answers as you want, so you can do just true or false, or you could have a question with lots of different multiple choice answers if you want to. You simply select the correct answer and select the video that's relevant once again. You can also upload questions. So if, for example, you have a Excel spreadsheet with some questions already on it, you can download that template onto your computer. It will open up as just a plain Excel file. You can add your questions in and upload that to the GCSEPod website. Those questions will then be available to you, and you can edit them as well, so you can tweak them if you want to. Once you've created your assessment, all you then need to do is give it a name. So this could be test assignment, and of course you can set some instructions for the students as well. Like so. And then all that's left to do is to choose your group or your individual students, whatever you prefer, set it for your class, like so, and publish it. Now you can publish it straight away, you could publish it in the future if you wanted to, and you can obviously set the deadline as well. Now here you can get the link and post that onto other educational platforms like Google, ClassCharts or Office 365, and you can share your template with teachers. So for example, if you're working in a multi-academy trust, you can actually share these assignments amongst a department, not just within your school, but within a whole department within a group of schools as well. This is great for sharing workload, and it's a fantastic way to get consistency across different teachers as well. Once your assignments have been set, you can then measure the response rates by going into the reporting. So here's an assignment that I've already set. We can see the average score, and we can go in, view results, and go in and give feedback and mark any of the individual students' results. You'll notice here as well, you can also see what boost playlists have been generated for each student. And this is your sort of instant intervention system if you choose to use it. So let's go back and see what else James has used on GCSEPod. In this quote, James explains how they've used GCSEPod to support online learning. What they do is they create playlists for the students to watch prior to a lesson, sort of flip learning style, and then they use the teaching time to go through the other activities that are available on the site. The benefits here are that the lessons are more interactive, even though they're online, and they're shorter as well, with more motivated students. So on the GCSEPod website, the first thing that James mentioned was the playlists. Now these are accessible in the Teach area, and then we just scroll down and here they are. Now what playlists allow you to do as a teacher is create a pick and mix of videos that you want your students to watch. So we're going to click Create New Playlist, and we're going to create a playlist based on the poetry of Wilfred Owen. So we've given our playlist a name, and then we can either search for the content just by clicking on the subject, or what we might find easier is just to type in some keywords. So here's the poem that we're going to be studying in our next lesson. So we're going to add all of those videos. And then what's lovely about these playlists is that you can do interdisciplinary learning. So what we can now do is say, well, is there any content, maybe history content on the site about the trenches, which is obviously going to be relevant to our poem. So here we can now add in a couple of extra videos. And what we now have is a brilliant interdisciplinary playlist covering some English literature and then some history context to the writer's context that he wrote the poems in. So we've got the videos, and now we've got the activities. So at the top here, we've got a list of activities that the students can tackle. They can do these in class time, or they can do them as an online lesson, or they can do them as homework. There's 22, and each one asks the students to watch a video and then do an activity. And these activities are designed to cement knowledge into long-term memory. So there are things like reducing the information that they've learned into summaries, drawing diagrams and spider diagrams, and so on. And this is what James described that he was doing as part of that online lesson to get the students interacting and engaging with him in a motivated way. The last school we're going to look at today is Ashby School. Now, as Donna, who's a member of their leadership team, explains, they mainly brought GCSEPod in to support their pupil premium cohort. However, one of the unexpected benefits that they found was how much it engaged with parents. And in fact, during the lockdown period, they found that their parents were much more engaged than even before the lockdown started. Now, Donna explains here that one of the keys to their success was being able to monitor the student usage and intervene when needed. And she comments on Check and Challenge, which is a feature that allows students to self-evaluate their knowledge and get instant feedback. And also the fact that there was self-marking and ready-made assignments that teachers could set in a couple of seconds on the site. And actually, Ashby School has done phenomenally well in engaging their students during what has been an incredibly challenging period. So let's look at how they did that. So the first thing that Donna mentioned was Check and Challenge, and this is a tool on GCSEPod that allows teachers and students to test out knowledge with specialist written questions. Now, as a teacher, we can get to it through the Teach area, and currently it's available in maths, English literature and computer science as well, which is just off the page to the right hand side. So let's have a look at some maths. Now we'll choose a topic area, statistics, and then a subtopic representing data. So just like I showed before, we've got the videos that cover all of the content needed, and we've got the learning activities at the top. But in addition, you'll see at the bottom, we've got this Check and Challenge area. Now, we're currently logged in as a teacher, which means that we can try out Check and Challenge as a teacher or as a student. And let's go for this topic on histograms. So we'll click histograms and then just pause the video. So let's see what it looks like from a student's perspective. So for each pod on our site, we have 8 questions in maths, which will test out the students' knowledge. So let's try this first question, and we're going to get this deliberately wrong. Now, when we get an answer wrong, we are given instant feedback and then a second attempt. The system will not spoon feed students with the correct answer. Instead, it uses a scaffolded support system, including hints, like you can see there, to help the students towards the correct answer. If the student gets the correct answer, they are then rewarded with diamonds. You get 2 diamonds for a correct answer on first attempt, 1 for correct answer on second attempt, and 0 if you need both attempts to get the answer right. So if we move on to the second question, so here we're being asked to review this table, and if we get the correct answer first time, you'll see we've been awarded 2 diamonds. Now, students can access these questions independently. Teachers do not need to set these for the students. They can have a go at them on their own. However, as a teacher, you can actually share these assignments with students. And you'll see at the bottom of the page there, it says share. So I can literally choose the topic that I want my students to look at, and then I can put that onto any other learning platform, or just encourage the students to go straight on to GCSEPod. Once my students have completed the check and challenge, I can then easily go and view their results. So I just pick my group from the list here, like so, and I can see exactly how my students have performed. I can see which questions they found challenging, which questions they found easy, and I can even see the misconceptions that have been highlighted by the most common distractors. Now, I'm showing you this for maths, but it is equally relevant to English and the other subjects that we cover. Now, Check and Challenge is coming out for humanities and science subjects in September, and our plan is to roll it out across all subjects next academic year. The last thing that Donna mentioned was our ready-made assignments. So Check and Challenge is fantastic, but at the moment it only covers English, Maths and Computer Science. But that's not to say that we don't have ready-made assessment for other subjects. If we go into the Assess area and go into Assignments, you'll see there are hundreds of ready-made assignments accessible across our full subject range. If we pick a subject, for example, Business Studies, we can filter by topic area and filter by exam board, and we have lots of ready-made homework assignments, all written by subject specialists, which we can use in seconds. We can simply tick the homework that we want to use, and here we have a pre-created set of work. We've got the videos for the students to watch, and then at the bottom, we've got questions for the students to answer. Now, most of the questions are self-marking, which is fantastic for reducing workload, and all of these ready-made assignments are editable as well. So I can get rid of questions, I can add questions, and I can edit any of the questions as I want to. And what Donna described was the way in which using these ready-made homeworks was allowing teachers to set quick homework and then get results and identify weaknesses and knowledge gaps in our classes. So by using these tools on the site, Donna's been able to get some outstanding results. She mentions here that their top performing Pupil Premium students have been accessing hundreds of videos on the GCSEPod site, and their 20 highest users have been ranging from the sort of 59 pods right up to nearly 1,000 streams and downloads. And there's actually a tool on the GCSEPod site that helped Donna get this analysis out of the system. So let's have a look. So we're back logged in as a teacher, and we're going to go back into Monitor and Manage where we were earlier. We're going to go into a class group here, and what I didn't show earlier is that you can import pupil data straight from your MIS. Here we've got the Pupil Premium, so I can see all the students in this class that are PP. I've also got EAL and high prior attainer data as well. This means that I can easily filter by any of these characteristics, so I can keep an eye on specific groups of students really, really easily. And all of this data can be exported as well into Excel, so you can compare it perhaps with other data that you're collecting on these vulnerable student groups. Now, what you can also do is through our report builder, you can actually look more in detail at the way that students are using the site and how that might differ for different types of students. Here, for example, we can choose a date range. So it might be, for example, the last month. We can choose a group of students that we're interested in. That might be, for example, a whole year group like year 11. And then we can build a report that will be automatically sent to us and allow us to do analysis. Now, we've also got the option at the bottom here to compare usage by gender, boys and girls, pupil premium, EAL and HPA. So let's go for the pupil premium option and then click generate. Now, this will send us an email in about 5 minutes with a report. So let's have a look at a sample report. So here is an example report based on demo data, and you can see that this PDF, which is sent to you automatically, even includes the average number of pods watched by different groups of students. And here, as Donna did, she's got her top 20 students who are non-PP, and then she's got her top 20 students who are PP. These are obviously not Donna's real students, these are just pretend part of my demo school account. We can also see down at the bottom here the students' usage over the period of the week. So this helps us identify perhaps times of the week when students are most motivated, and in some schools they will even use this to identify when to set homework or home-based learning because students are most motivated on a Tuesday. So you can use this data to your advantage as well. To finish this webinar then, let's go back to that quote from Gavin Cowley. We've now seen how GCSEPod can be used to help teach the course and enrich online or face-to-face lessons. James at the Winchester School explained how successfully they've used GCSEPod for flipped and blended learning. Donna showed us how GCSEPod can be used to evaluate understanding and reduce teacher workload. And Donna and Famida both showed the power of the monitoring tools that are available, whether that's to feed back to newly engaged parents or evidence impact on pupil premium students. So however you choose to use GCSEPod, make sure you get in touch with us. Our team work with hundreds of schools each week, and with 10 years of experience, we can avoid you having to reinvent the wheel, which of course none of us want to do. So it's really just to say a big thank you for joining me on this webinar. I hope you found it interesting and useful, and I hope that you stay safe and well over the coming months to come.